Welcome back to another NFL video. In this video, we are going to look at what every single team is, really trying to achieve, what they can achieve, what they can't achieve, yada, yada, yada. The list goes on and on. Now, one thing that I absolutely love to look at in this case is what they're trying to achieve, with potentials for a playoff berth. So, the Baltimore Ravens, it says on Wikipedia they're attempting to improve on a 10-7 record from last year. With them being 10-3 this year, they've already matched it. They're also trying to claim their first AFC North title since the 2019 season. Now, 2020 was the last time they got a playoff win, but in 2019 they still made it to the divisional round because of their first round bye. I don't know the last time they made it to the AFC Championship, but I kind of don't feel like checking because we got a lot of teams to go through. Next up, Miami Dolphins. They're 9-4 right now. They're attempting to improve on a 9-8 record. They already matched it. But unlike last year, this year 9-8 is not going to be enough to make the playoffs. And as you can see, they lost in the wild card round. In 2022 was their first time making the playoffs since 2016. So, that was Miami. Miami also hasn't won a playoff game since the 2000 season. They haven't won the AFC East since 2008. So they're attempting to win the AFC East. And I feel like for the Dolphins, the game against the Jets is going to be huge for them. Because as of now, the Dolphins have one loss in the division to the Buffalo Bills. And the Bills, who are the runners-up, have one loss in the division. Actually, no, they have two losses to the Jets and to the Patriots. Now, if the Dolphins lose to the Jets, there's actually a real chance that Buffalo can take the division from them. If the Dolphins can hold the Jets off, it's going to help them in so many ways. Especially if they can beat the Bills in Week 18, then the Dolphins might actually have a chance of owning that tiebreaker. So it's going to be huge that the Dolphins beat the Jets this week. Chiefs. They are 8-5, so they failed to improve on their 14-3 record from last year. Pretty much when they lost to the Eagles, in Week 11, that's when they failed to improve on their record, and they couldn't match it after a loss in Week 13 to the Packers. So they still trying to make the playoffs for the 9th season. I expect them to do so. They're trying to win the they're trying to win the AFC West for just going to the Wikipedia page. They're trying to win the AFC West for the 8th consecutive year. Chiefs are trying to get to their 6th consecutive AFC championship. Their ultimate goal is to win the Super Bowl again, but I don't see that happening. They haven't, because they won a Super Bowl last year. Jaguars, they're 8-5. Now, they're attempting to improve on a 9-8 record from last year. They also want to make the playoffs for the 2nd consecutive season, which they haven't done since the 90s. They also want to win a consecutive division title. They won the division last year, and they even won a playoff game last year. The wild card, they obviously lost in the divisional round, but that's a story for another time. This is after being one of the worst teams in the NFL for several years before that. But in 2017, they lost in the AFC Championship after a fourth quarter collapse. It was their first time making the AFC Championship game since 1999, and they lost. So, with Jacksonville, they had broke their 5-year playoff drought, but they couldn't do as well in the playoffs as what they did 5 years beforehand. They've never made it to a Super Bowl, so that's obviously an important goal. The Jaguars are one of the newer teams, but the Browns aren't. So they improved on their 7-10 record already by going 8-5. They already improved on their record. They want to win the AFC North for the first time since 1989, back when it wasn't even the same Cleveland Browns anymore. They also want to make their first playoffs since 2020. But what I want to bring you on to highlight is that in 2020, it was their first playoff berth in 2002, and they also made it in 2020 to the divisional round for the first time since 1994. But then they lost in the divisional round. But they made it for the first time since 1994. They won a playoff game. So go to the AFC Championship for the first time since 1989 and win the division for the first time since 1989. That's really the goal of the Cleveland Browns. Pittsburgh Steelers. They're 7-6 right now. They're trying to win their first AFC North title and will have 20 consecutive non-losing records. And being a 9-8 record last year. They didn't make the playoffs in 2022. They did make the playoffs in 2021, but they suffered a wild card defeat. In 2020, the Pittsburgh Steelers also suffered a wild card defeat. They missed out on the playoffs in 2019. They missed out on the playoffs in 2018 despite going 9-6-1. 2017 was the last time they made it past the wild card round, but that was by virtue of having a bye. So they advanced the division round. So the last time they won the division round was 2017, but 2016 was the last time they won a playoff game, and that year they made it to the AFC Championship, but they ultimately lost to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Nonetheless, that is a pretty good goal to make their first AFC Championship since 2016. Obviously, the Steelers want to make their first Super Bowl since Super Bowl 45. Since Super Bowl 45, they want to win their first Super Bowl since since Super Bowl 45. They want to win their first Super Bowl since Super Bowl 43. Back in, so they have a lot of ambitious goals going for them. The Colts improved on their miserable 4-12-1 record. They're trying to make their first playoff appearance. They say it was a 3-year absence. It wasn't exactly good. Looking at the Indianapolis Colts, they last made the playoffs in 2020. They last won the AFC South in 2014. So these numbers don't actually match up. It's only a 2-year absence for the Colts, and the Colts had a heartbreaker not making it in 2021. Having said that, when you look at the Colts and their playoff appearances, 2020, the Colts suffered a wild card defeat to the Bills. For the 2018 season, the Colts actually beat the Texans. So the Colts beat the Texans. So that was the last time they won a playoff game. And as you can see here, Colts did win, but then they lost in the divisional round to the Chiefs, who actually won. No, they didn't win a Super Bowl that year. Never mind. And those are the teams that are currently in a playoff spot. So if the season would end today, the Ravens would get their first NFC North title since 2019. The Dolphins would get their first AFC East title since 2008. Chiefs would get their 7th consecutive title. Jaguars would get their 2nd consecutive title. Browns would make the playoffs for the first time since 2020. Steelers would make the playoffs after a 1-year absence, and the Colts would make the playoffs for the first time since 2020. If the season would end today. And obviously the playoff games, that we're not going to know until they literally happen, LOL. Texans improved from their 13-1 record from last year, but they're not in a playoff spot right now. Texans have won the AFC South for the last time in 2019, and that was the last time they made the playoffs. That was a wild card defeat. 2018, the Texans did make it. Wait, what? Oh no, they made it in this season. So in 2019, for that postseason, the Texans did, and they won the division too, apparently. For the 2019 season, and this was the last time they made the playoffs. They actually made it to the divisional round where they lost to the Chiefs. But the Texans have actually never made it to the AFC Championship for the game, so they want to do that. But as of now, they're on the outside looking in. Broncos at 7-6. They already beat their 5-12 record from last year. They want to make the playoffs for the first time in a 7-year absence. But what you have to understand about the Broncos is that 2015 was the last time they made the playoffs. But in 2015, they won a Super Bowl 50 against the Panthers. So, really, Broncos, they want to be their best in 2015. Because they can't do better than 2015 because you can't beat having a Super Bowl. I like to compare the Broncos to the Royals in the sense that they both won their championship in 2015, or for the 2015 season, because the Broncos technically won the Super Bowl in 2016. And then from there on out, they've never actually been able to make the postseason. The Royals failed to make the 2023 playoffs, and they were actually one of the worst teams in baseball. So I want to see if the Broncos can be better than that, but as of now, they're all on the outside looking in. Bengals, they're 7-6, so they already failed to improve on a 12-4 record from last year. Last year, they made it to the AFC Championship game. In 2021, they made it to Super Bowl 56, but they lost. So, Bengals, they didn't make the playoffs in 2020, so they don't want to have that situation occur where they miss the playoffs. Bills are also in the playoff spot right now, and they already are worse than the 13-3 record by being 7-6. Bills last missed the playoffs in 2018. They last didn't win the division since 2019. So these are all streaks that the Bills want to avoid. The Bills did suffer losses in the divisional round for the past 2 years. As you can see here, they lost in the divisional round in 2021. It was very controversial, but they lost in the divisional round. In 2020, lost in the AFC Championship game. That was their first. 2020 was the first time winning a playoff game and winning the AFC East since 1995. They made their first AFC Championship since the 1993 season when they actually won and lost in the Super Bowl for their fourth consecutive year. Bills have never won a Super Bowl yet. LA Chargers, they've already disimproved on its 10-7 record. But as far as the Chargers go, they made the playoffs. They made the playoffs last year after 3 years of not making it. 2018 was the last time making it beforehand. And in the 2018 season, the Chargers actually made it to the divisional round, but then they lost. But I'm just saying that that they haven't won a playoff game since 2018. But they're not expected to make it this year. 2023, Vegas. Vegas last made the playoffs in 2021. Them improving on a 6-11 record is still in the table, but I really don't see them being able to make it very far in that. They last won the AFC West in 2002. 2021, the Raiders lost in the wild card round to the Cincinnati Bengals. 2016, when they made it beforehand, and it was still the Oakland Raiders, they lost in the divisional round to the Texans. 2002 was the previous time making it before then, and the Raiders, Raiders actually made it to the Super Bowl that year, and they lost, but they made it to Super Bowl 37, assuming I can read Roman numerals. But they have not won a playoff game since losing Super Bowl 37 for the 2002 season. But I really don't see them doing that. And then you get to the New Jersey Jets. They're 5-8. They can still move on a 7-10 record from last year. But what you have to understand is that, after the Mariners clinched a playoff berth and the Kings clinched a playoff berth, the Jets and Sabres are tied for the longest active playoff drought. They have not made a playoff since 2010. When they went 11-5 and they actually made it to the AFC Championship game. They made the playoffs in back-to-back seasons. They made the AFC Championship in back-to-back seasons. The Jets were really attempting to build a dynasty. And honestly, they were almost successful. 2011, their late season collapse is really what made the Jets go from being a potential dynasty into the Jets becoming one of the worst teams in the NFL. Um, the Jets. The Jets haven't won a Super Bowl, been to a Super Bowl since Super Bowl three, back for the 1968 season. So again, that's that. Titans, they're 5-8. So they can still improve on a 7-10 record from last year. Last year they missed out on the playoffs, and it was 2018 that they missed out on making the playoffs. 2021 they made it to the divisional round, but they lost. They lost the wild card in 2020. So 2019 was the last time they won a playoff game and made it to the AFC Championship. Finally, the Patriots are officially eliminated from postseason contention. Patriots are eliminated officially. They have already failed to improve on their not good 8-9 record from last year. 8-9 last year, and they still failed to improve. Um, they haven't finished with 10 losses since the 2000 season. Um, this is their third time missing the postseason in 4 years. Um, 2022 they missed. 2021 they did make it, but then they got squished by the Bills in the wild card round. 2020 they missed the playoffs. 2019 was the last time winning the AFC East, and even then they got out in the wild card round. They did win Super Bowl 53 in 2018, but since then the Patriots have not been a good team. And honestly, people like to say that the Patriots dynasty went on until Brady left the team. With the Brady Belichick era ending, I'm going to be honest, 2019 was not part of the Patriots dynasty. And the Patriots had many, bad moments in the dynasty, but you could call them a dynasty from 2001 to 2018. 2019 in a wild card defeat, they were not a dynasty. And I'm firm on that. And honestly, it's really more like the Patriots had two separate dynasties and then a period in between where they were a good team, a very good team, but I don't know. Anyway, I can only do the AFC as of now. The NFC is going to have to wait.